Okay, well, so I had this idea last week sometime, laying in bed at night after a day of video editing, and I was thinking I'm going to use this Canon Vixia. It's kind of a vlogging camera, but I want to use it while I'm taking or doing street photography. And so this is just a test. So I have my Lumix G5 camera with a 14 millimeter, no, this is the 20 millimeter f1.7 lens. And I have the camera configured for back button autofocus. So basically it only focuses when I hit this back button so that I can repeatedly hit the shutter button and it's not going to try refocusing on every shot, which should make repetitive shooting a little faster. But anyways, the idea was to figure out how to vlog, how to document the fact that I'm taking pictures. Like I'm going to go ahead and take one here of my scooter in the garage. And so now I can walk around and I can kind of document me taking photos, you know, like, so it's cold outside. Baby, it's cold outside. No offense meant. It's going to be probably less than 20 degrees out here, which is kind of cold. 20 degrees Fahrenheit, I should say. Yeah, so, hey, here is a, look at that. So I'm going to document myself taking a picture of that. Oh, I like that. So this might be a way that I can make vlogging videos pertaining to me going out doing street photography. I could actually document myself out on the streets doing street photography with a really simple camera here and video setup and everything. I think I like it. Well, we'll see. That's cool. Well, I printed out the latest email message from Richard Polt about this cold hard type typewriter storage project, and I have a little folder with a bunch of notes. Well, it's Sunday afternoon and I want to get out and go somewhere. And I've got to do some writing. So I have my Brother EP20 typewriter back there in the car. Back here in the car. Anyways, cold day, cold winter day in Albuquerque, but I gotta go get some cash from the ATM, and then I need to go down to the coffee shop, sit down and work on this cold hard type story project. So I think I got a good handle now on the world that the story will take place in, and now I just got to start inventing a good character and start writing. Well, it was a fun day today. I got out in the cold. Yeah, it's starting to get cold here in Albuquerque. It's dry. We don't have any moisture, but it gets down the low 20s Fahrenheit, maybe into the teens. Anyways. Went down to Rusta's Gold Coffee Shop and did some more writing, this time on the 8.5-inch wide thermal fax paper roll. I got about 2 feet or so of writing done. Writing mainly about my upcoming story for Richard Polt's Cold Hard Type book project. I've been trying to finalize the world of this story. And if you're not familiar with the Cold Hard Type project, this is a crowdsourced book project, a series of short stories authored by various people in the typewriter world, and the general theme of all the stories has to be about a post-digital world where typewriters are involved. And I've kind of struggled a little bit with how I want the story to start, because I've written several stories in the past just for my own edification that take place in a world where digital technology is ubiquitous and it's sort of a draconian
pseudo-totalitarianist regime that uses digital technology to surveil the masses, kind of like what's going on right now if you actually understand what happens to our data and the collaboration between private enterprise and big business and government in this country, in America at least, brought to a higher degree, and how people have decided to, people have found it necessary to break out of that by using analog means, analog media, analog lifestyle to try to separate themselves from this surveillance state, if you will. That's been the basis of some of my past stories, but how do I fit that within the framework that Richard Polt has laid out for his book that he's asking us to write stories for? And I think I figured out today, at least from last week's brainstorming session and today's brainstorming session, what my story world is going to be about. So last week I had written about this much on 4 3/8 inch wide thermal paper, about 2 feet. And today I was using the 8.5 inch wide paper, and so there's a little bit more. So the setting is a culture very much like our own. Cell phones and related technology have gotten very ubiquitous. The tech firms have formed conglomerates so powerful that they now have tremendous political clout. They have caused a law to be enacted that makes it mandatory for public safety for people, everyone has to have a cell phone. But also, the conglomerates have raised prices of those services and products, such that people are now forced by act of law to basically go into impoverishment in order to continue to pay for their now mandatory devices. But some people have had enough. They decide that for the cause of personal freedom, they will disobey the new law and rid themselves of all digital technology. They will go analog in order to remain free, but also to survive economically. The story unfolds just as the underground analog movement is taking hold. The character has recently gotten involved. Ostensibly I'm writing it as a female. Her dad was an old-time typewriter blogger who recently passed away. She discovered his typewriter collection and has found her favorite typewriter that she remembers using as a little kid, and now wants to use the collection that she has inherited to distribute the collection, the rest of it, to the unalog, that they call themselves the underground analog, the unalog community. So what's the risk? What's the tension of the story? What's the hook of the story? Well, there is an obvious risk in the analog movement because it involves disobeying the law. What are the consequences? It could be prison, death, or slavery in a tech factory. Oh, I think that would be probably a good consequence. People that disobey the law are put to work as slaves in high-tech factories. Okay. So then I have to decide what is the tension of the story. So this potential story scenario that I'm thinking about, it has to get into Richard Polt's criteria, which is a collapse of the digital world and typewriters become very useful again. Somebody is involved in this unalog movement who decides to go to extreme measures and starts a project to do an actual terrorist event against the government and the digital hierarchy. And it could be, I'm thinking, some kind of a software bomb that's designed as a digital doomsday device to permanently crash the digital world. And the code name for the device will be Appleseed, right? The Appleseed Project, and referring to the planting of new seeds for a new society. And you could think of Johnny Appleseed, et cetera, et cetera. So the Appleseed Project. The climax of the story is when our character finishes her trek to Arizona just as the Appleseed device is ignited or initiated. And the reader is left with the implicit idea that the future will be analog, a starting over. So I have to figure out all the little details of this story. How do you explain the supposed illogic of this government private sector consortium that raises taxes and levies fines so draconianly high that society can't afford it and is led toward a collapse. Wouldn't they be smart enough to keep things under control enough so people can at least live in some modicum of comfort, right? So I've kind of explained that by the idea that government has its own interests and private enterprise has their own interests. And even though in this fantasy world the two are melded together, they still have their own separate interests. Government's interest is to raise taxes, private sector's interest is to make profits. And so they never can totally work together for the good of society. And as a consequence, the society's economy collapses irreparably because the high-tech world requires a middle class to buy products and then to develop new technology. The cost of developing new technology is very expensive, right? And the first world, in our world, first world culture pays the price for high technology to be developed, and in which case, when it becomes ubiquitous and cheap at high volumes of manufacture, then it can be sold cheaply to the third world. But in this scenario, there is no first world, and so high-tech collapses, right? That's kind of the scenario I'm thinking about. Anyways, that's my project for today that last week or so I've been working on. And yeah, I've been using the thermal typewriter, and for this, going out in public and typing on it, it's not, obviously it's not as nice haptically as a manual typewriter. It doesn't have the beautiful appearance and, all the nice things we like about manual typewriters, but it's quiet. It's not totally silent, but it's very quiet for public places, and it's very thin and lightweight, easy to carry, and doesn't seem to attract nearly the attention that a manual typewriter would. So it has some benefits there. The disadvantage, obviously, is having to use thermal paper, but on the other hand, I don't need to be chained to an electrical outlet either. It's not like I need to find a table with an outlet next to it. I can, like with an electric typewriter. This is a battery-powered device, so it's fun. So after a week or so of brainstorming this world that the story takes place in, I think I'm at the place now, after today's work, I'm at the place where I think I know what the story background is. I think I can start sitting down and fleshing out a character and actually starting to write. Now, when I do that, I would actually like to start writing on a real typewriter, a manual typewriter, I should say. But if I get to the point where I want to go writing in public, I might take a portable manual, like either the Rocket or the Skywriter, and at my desk here at home, I'll use a medium-sized portable. So I don't want to totally go to the thermal typewriter for all my writing, although it is very tempting. But I do want to keep my one foot, one hand in the manual typewriter writing regime for this project, certainly. I mean, it would obviously make sense. It's a story about typewriters. Of course you want to keep your hand on manual typewriters while you're writing it, right? Well, it's getting to be almost the end of 2018. Another week and the year will be out. And I wanted to stop here for a moment and thank every one of my viewers out there, every one of you guys who have contributed your time to watching this channel in the last year. And I really thank you from the bottom of my heart for your participation, for your leaving comments down below, being reactive to my videos. I'm hoping that I can do a better job next year, being more creative and serving your needs better. I don't want to forget really quickly, though, that the typing assignment 20 is going to be due next week at the end, the last Sunday in 2018, and it is on the theme of pet peeves. And if you're interested in that, participating in the final typing assignment for 2018, type up a one-page story with a typewriter, scan or photograph an image of it, put it online, that's publicly accessible, and drop a link down below in the video of typing assignment 20, and or email me at my email address, the image itself or a link to it. And I will try to do my best to include your story in the results video and the slideshow that will be in that results video. And I hope you guys have fun with this assignment. Well, thank you very much for a great year, and I'm looking forward to the year 2019 where we have more interesting things going on creatively. I hope to just make this even more interesting for all you guys. And until next time, you guys stay creative and have yourselves a great day. Bye-bye for now.